think it's burning somewhere really close, but I really don't have the time to check that out. It's another early morning, super gray weather as you can see, so a perfect day to spend it entirely in the studio and work on music as well as doing the EQing tutorial. I haven't been in the studio for the past 6-7 hours, so it's really about time to go there again and have fun. I can do no more. Finally arrived. You cannot imagine how cold it got from yesterday to today. It really feels like winter. That's just the best part about my studio. It is so absorbing, it's always warm. And I got a nice little package. I will open it later. First of all, getting started with music. I think today I will do the EQing tutorial. I have to work on the future bass guitar track. I paused working on it for almost 1 week because of this other project and finishing the Not Scared track and a whole lot of other things, so let's get back to it. But actually there are two things I have to mention first. First of all, EQing is something that really is depending on the samples that you're using, on the sounds that surround the one thing you EQ. Every kick needs to be EQ'd differently, every vocal needs to be EQ'd differently. Even having the same singer and songwriter on the vocals, you will need to EQ it differently. If it's sung in another key, same for the bass. It really depends on the key the track is in and which notes are playing. Sometimes you might even have to EQ different bass notes differently to really get the nicest sound. So I will try to stick in this tutorial more to like general EQing concepts and things that will help you in most cases, instead of showing you what I specifically make, because it won't really matter for your track. The second thing is actually, before you even start with EQing, make sure you have distributed all of the elements in your mix to the right place. I actually made an entire video about it a couple of months ago, and I still think it's one of the most important videos I've made that will help you to improve the most with your production, because you really have to learn which place which element takes. And if you do that right, they won't collide that much and you will have to EQ way less. There's actually a third thing you need to know about EQing before starting with it, but let me show you that directly on Logic. This right here is Logic's EQ, and it works basically as almost every EQ is. They are all very similar. And what you really have to understand with the EQ, you select a specific frequency and you can either raise it or lower it. But before doing that, you actually have to get the volume of the element right within the mix. Changing the volume is kind of EQing all of the frequencies at the same time. So if you have the volume right of the specific element, you will have to do less with the EQing. The EQing is only there to really do specific things that wouldn't be possible otherwise. If you've watched a couple of my other videos, you know that I really like to do as least as possible to the track, like really preserve it and with small detailed and exact changes to get where I want. And first of all, I get the levels right, then I do a bit on the EQing, and if this still is not fixing it and making it work, I will use a bit of compression, and if that's still not working, it's usually just for the best to search for another element. As you know, you can't polish a turd, so EQing isn't really always the solution. I could go into one of my older productions, delete all of the EQs, and it would still be the same track. So it's not all about EQing, but now let me show you what you can do with EQing and where I use the EQ to improve my tracks. So just that you can follow me along, let me play you the part that I'm working on. I will really restrict for this video myself to the chorus part. It consists at the moment of the drums, the loop, one low bass, a higher bass, chord steps, the lead guitar. As well as a synthy sound that I still didn't really select that plays just the same as the lead guitar. This track is still at a very early stage. I will start with the EQing. I usually start with the lowest elements in the frequency range. So with the kick, which is anyways the most important part in electronic music. I will activate the analyzer so that you also are able to see what you are hearing. This is the kick. I'm hearing that there are some frequencies on the bottom end that are really unnecessary, below 30 Hz. So I'm putting the low cut on top of it. I will cut it right at 30 Hz and I'm changing it to 36 dB per octave. Next up, I'm getting rid of a frequency that isn't really pleasing with this kick, just lowering it by a couple of dBs to make the kick sound a little bit cleaner. Next up is the snare. Here I'm just removing the bottom frequencies so that I'm making sure that there's nothing going on down there that could interfere with the kick. These simple low cuts are almost on all of the elements except for the bass, the kick, and maybe some really low effect sounds or stuff that is going on within the break that is replacing the bass, just to make sure that there's nothing going on that could interfere with the bass and the kick. And I usually adjust them just by putting on the low cut, cutting into the sound until I hear a difference, and then backing off again. You don't want to make the sounds thin, you just want to get rid of the low end that could be there. It could be mic rumble, some soft synthes produce very low frequencies for no reason, and just to get the mix a little bit cleaner. So with the hi-hats, what I usually do is I select one band, boost it by the maximum and make it as narrow as possible. Then I go through all of the frequencies, trying to find the one that sounds the most irritating and that kind of makes your ear move in a really strange way. And then I lower it and listen to it A and B, compare it. And you can hear it sounds a bit cleaner. That's like a really fine adjustment. But if you do stuff like that on 30 tracks, you will end up with a way cleaner song at the end. Whenever you listen to so many high frequencies for a longer duration, make a break after it. It's impossible when your ear got so used to those high frequencies to mix the track and EQ other elements after it. So let's just see what's on this package. These are actually the last two things I've been waiting for to complete my filming setup. So what I've missed are batteries for it. I used to film everything now with just one. Now I got two more. And another charger where you can charge two batteries at the same time. This little thing right here costs 17 euros, but it's really needed for the camera to attach the microphone properly. So this is the last piece that is missing to really have this setup complete. This little adapter doesn't really work as it should, so I tried to come up with a custom solution. Took me almost an hour. It's now kind of working. So let's continue with the EQing. I will show you more about my camera setup another time. Next up is the bass. I think I already did the bass and showed you it in another video, but let me go through really quick. The very subby bass is just playing above 50 Hz. I cut it away everything underneath to keep a bit more room for the kick. And the higher saw bass is cutted right around 120 Hz. And the rest of it I've left as it is. I've made the bass sound with the ACE synth, and I usually try to shape the sound already within the instrument and then just use as little EQing as possible, because already here you can change the cutoff, you can add resonance, which takes away bass again a little bit. What I sometimes like to do with the EQing of the bass is reducing certain notes of the bass just to make them equally as loud as the other ones. but you could also just use a compressor to kind of achieve the same effect. So next up are the chord steps. I also EQ'd them already the last time I worked on the track. I've cut away everything below 100 Hertz. I could cut them even a little bit more. And I've boosted them here at the top frequencies just to give them a little bit more shine and to make them more present throughout the mix. You have now listened to the chord steps with and without EQing, and as you can hear, it's not such a big difference, but it really adds up if you do that on all of the tracks. Next up is the guitar. I've soloed it. Let me play it to you without the EQing and then with. I've here removed the bottom end just to make sure that there is no rumble going on, and I lowered a little bit here at 2550 Hertz to get rid of those a bit higher frequencies of the guitar, to make also room for vocals that might be added to the track. I think this guitar is just a perfect example why you cut away the low frequencies. Without the EQing, you can hear that there is some rumble going on down there, and it makes also the reverb very dirty. So just by putting on the low cut, you improve the sound by a lot. Just be careful to not cut it too much as soon as you cut away the fundamental note of the tone. That's the lowest peak frequency here. It will just sound really strange and thin. That's already all of the EQing that I think is necessary for this track at this point. The second I have vocals, I will change it a bit and make room for the vocals and EQ them, which is probably the biggest task, EQing vocals. I think I will make a specific video just about EQing vocals. With electronic music, there is not really a lot of EQing necessary, because for all of the drum stuff you're using samples that were already EQ'd and also even compressed. And the synthes, they usually just need the low cut, and the rest of the shaping of the sound is usually done within the synth. So definitely check out the other video where I explain where and how to place the elements within the mix, so that you won't have that much trouble with the mixing. I will link it up at the end of this video. For me, it's now time to continue EQing all of the other elements that are taking place in the verse and the pre-chorus. I'm all done with the EQing. The next step would actually be to start arranging the track, but I have to work on another project that has to do with this advertisement stuff again, unfortunately, probably for the rest of the day. When I said probably for the rest of the day, I really meant it. It's already almost midnight again. I think today there is no option than just going to McDonald's to get something to eat. That's a problem when you go to work so early that nothing else is open, and you leave so late that everything is closed again. So yeah, McDonald's it is. I think tomorrow, for a change, I might do something else. I've been now 2 weeks straight in the studio, so I really need a change, just doing something else, free up my mind, and will not look at the screen for the entire time. So see you tomorrow again. Yep, I'm back in the studio. I completely forgot my laptop. Stuff like that usually never happens to me, but I might be a little bit overworked and super tired. I think now I got everything, just the camera, and then back home.